Hello everyone, this is Shantanu Bhosale and welcome you all in Curious Academy. Today we will learn about lesson 2 of prehistoric India and the Harappan culture. Long ago, before writing ever existed, people began settling across the vast land we now call India. These early humans left behind no written words, but they did leave clues. Deep beneath the earth, scattered across valleys and hills, archaeologists have discovered stone tools, clay pots, metal objects, and everyday items that whisper stories of ancient lives. As researchers pieced together these remains, they uncovered the tale of India's earliest times, known as the prehistoric period. This era was divided into chapters: the Old Stone Age, Paleolithic, where people used crude stone tools and lived by hunting; the Middle Stone Age, Mesolithic, where life grew a little more advanced; the New Stone Age, Neolithic, where farming began and villages took shape; and finally the Metal Age, where bronze and iron changed life forever. But how do we know when all this happened? Scientists use clever tools like radiocarbon dating, which measures how much carbon is left in ancient objects, and dendrochronology, where counting the rings in old trees reveals their age, like nature's own timeline. Though these discoveries, the silent world of India's first settlers comes alive, telling us how they lived, worked, and laid the earliest foundations of civilizations. Long before cities, farming, or even spoken language as we know it, early humans roamed the vast land of India during what we now call the Old Stone Age. These people lived close to rivers and streams, finding shelter in caves and rock shelters like those at Bhimbetka and Kurnool, or under the trees near the Soan Valley, Adamgarh Hills, and Atirampakkam. Sometimes they even built simple huts with leaves. Life was tough. They survived by hunting wild animals and gathering roots, fruits, and tubers, which is why we call them hunter gatherers. With no metal, they shaped hard stones like quartzite into sharp tools and weapons, using them to bring down large animals, often working in groups. Over time, things slowly began to change. These early people started taming animals, making rough clay pots, and even trying to grow plants. On some cave walls, especially at Bhimbetka, they left behind mysterious rock paintings, giving us a glimpse of their world. This era, stretching back before 10,000 BC, marks the beginning of human life in India, a time when survival was the greatest skill of all. As time moved on, around 10,000 BC, a new chapter began in the history of early humans, the Mesolithic or Middle Stone Age. This was a time of change, a bridge between the old ways and the new. People still hunted and gathered like before, but now they used sharper, tiny stone tools called microliths, some no bigger than a finger. They began using bows and arrows, shifting from hunting large animals to catching smaller ones and even fishing. Life became a little more settled. In places like Lalganj, Adamgarh, and parts of Rajasthan, Bihar, and Uttar Pradesh, they stayed longer in one place. Slowly, they started taming animals, trying out primitive farming, and growing fruits and vegetables, marking the beginning of horticulture. Rock shelters from this time, especially with paintings and carvings, show glimpses of their daily life, how they lived, hunted, and perhaps even played. They began to bury their dead, sometimes with tools and shells, showing care and ritual. This age, lasting until around 6000 BC, was a time when humans took their first steps towards a more settled and organized life. A new dawn in human life began around 6000 BC with the arrival of the Neolithic Age, a time of remarkable progress. People no longer wandered from place to place. Instead, they began to settle down, forming the first true villages. In places like the Kashmir Valley, Chirand, and the Belan Valley, and further south in Maski, Piyampalli, and Brahmagiri, people farmed the land, domesticated animals, and built homes from mud bricks. They had learned to polish stone tools, making them sharper and stronger for cutting trees or farming. For the first time, pottery became part of daily life, crafted using the wheel, used for cooking, storing grain, and even for burying the dead in large urns. They grew wheat, barley, rice, and millets, and rice farming flourished especially in the east. Sheep, goats, and cattle were raised, not just for food but also to help with farming and transport. People began weaving cotton and wool clothes, showing a deepening understanding of both nature and craft. The Neolithic Age was not just a change in tools, it was a transformation in how humans lived, worked, and built communities. After the Neolithic Age, a new chapter began, the Metal Age, when humans discovered the magic of metal. Around this time, people learned how to melt copper and bronze, crafting tools, ornaments, and weapons. This period is known as Chalcolithic Age or the Copper Stone Age because stone tools were still used alongside metal ones. People traveled long distances to find metal ores, leading to wide cultural exchanges. Farming communities grew along river valleys like the Godavari, Krishna, and Kaveri in South India. One of the greatest culture of this time was the Harappan civilization. Part of the Chalcolithic world, in sites like Piyampalli, archaeologists found bronze and copper tools, pottery, beads, and terracotta figures, showing how advanced these communities had become. Eventually, the Iron Age arrived. Iron, mentioned in the ancient Vedas, changed everything. In South India, the Iron Age is linked to mysterious megalithic burials, graved marked by huge stones. At sites like Halur, Maski, and Adi Chanchanallur, people buried their dead with iron tools, black and red pottery, and even weapons, giving us a window into their world. This age of metal marked a turning point, bringing strength to tools, growth to agriculture, and complexity to society. Long before modern cities, there stood a grand and mysterious civilization along the Indus River. It all began with the discovery of Harappa in West Punjab and Mohenjo-daro in Sindh. Now in Pakistan, as archaeologists dug deeper, they uncovered the ruins of an ancient world. Neatly planned cities, wide streets, and brick houses, unlike anything seen before. At first, this was called the Indus Valley Civilization, but as more cities were found far beyond the Indus, like Lothal, Dholavira, Kalibangan, and Banavali, it became clear that this was a much broader culture, so it came to be known as the Harappan civilization, named after the first site uncovered. Some cities like Mohenjo-daro were massive, spanning over 200 hectares with advanced drainage system and large public buildings. These people were skilled builders, traders, and artisans, leaving behind a legacy written not in words but in bricks, seals, and silent streets buried beneath time. The story of Harappa civilization didn't begin overnight. It grew slowly over time, unfolding in four stages: pre-Harappan, early Harappan, mature Harappan, and late Harappan. It all began in Mehrgarh in eastern Balochistan, where nomadic people settled down and started farming. This was the pre-Harappan stage, where the seed of civilization were first planted. Then came the early Harappan stage. People began building larger villages in the Indus plains, and slowly these villages grew into towns. Sites like Ambri and Kod Diji show this existing transition from rural to urban life. Next came the Golden Age, the mature Harappan stage. Grand cities with advanced town planning, drainage systems, and organized trades emerged, as seen in Kalibangan. This was the height of Harappan culture. Finally, the late Harappan stage marked the beginning of decline. One of the last great sites, Lothal, stood out with its dockyard and flood protection walls. It became a bustling trading port, linking the Harappans with other parts of India and Mesopotamia. Thus, the Harappan civilization rose from humble beginnings to become one of the world's earliest and most remarkable urban cultures. Long ago in 1931, archaeologist Sir John Marshall looked at the ruins of Mohenjo-daro and estimated that this ancient city was lived in between 3250 and 2750 BC. But as time went on and new sites were discovered, scholars realized the story was more complex. Then came a game changer, the radiocarbon dating method, which allowed scientists to date ancient remains more accurately. By 1956, Fair surveys used this technique and suggested a new timeline between 2000 and 1500 BC. Later in 1964, D.P. Agrawal studied the evidence and proposed that the Harappan civilization likely spanned from 2300 to 1750 BC. Even today, as more discoveries are made, the timeline continues to evolve, showing that the past still holds many secrets yet to be uncovered. These are the salient features of the Harappan culture: town planning, economic life, social life, arts and script. Now we will study each one in thorough. Imagine walking through a city thousands of years ago, where every street is perfectly planned, straight, roads crossing at right angles, forming neat rectangular blocks. This was the genius of Harappan town planning. Seen in cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro and Kalibangan. Each city had a citadel, a raised area made of mud bricks, where important buildings stood. Below it lay the lower town, filled with brick houses where common people lived. Remarkably, these cities had no stone buildings, but they made wide use of burnt bricks, which were strong and uniform. One of the most incredible features was their covered underground drainage system. Every house was connected to street drains, a marvel of ancient sanitation. Sorry guys for. In Mohenjo-daro stood the famous Great Bath, likely used for ritual bathing. It was built with burnt bricks, had steps, dressing rooms and even a drain. Nearby was a large well to fill it. The city also held granaries, huge buildings used to store grain. Mohenjo-daro had one massive granary, while Harappa's citadel held 6, showing how advanced and organized these people truly were. This wasn't just a city, it was a carefully planned civilization, far ahead of its time. In the bustling cities of the Harappan civilization, life was rich with activity. People farmed with land, growing wheat, barley, sesame, mustard, and even cotton, one of the earliest known uses in the world. Surplus grains were carefully stored in large granaries, showing their organized planning. They raised sheep, goats, and buffalo, and hunted animals like deer for food, though the use of the horse isn't confirmed. Many other animals were part of daily life. The Harappans were skilled artisans, goldsmiths, weavers, and potters, brickmakers, stonecutters, and metal workers, created everything from bronze vessels to terracotta toys. Beads made from colorful semi precious stones were crafted and traded far and wide. Their pottery, mostly plain but sometimes painted in red and black, was both practical and artistic. Gold and silver ornaments have been found, revealing their love for beauty and decoration. Trade flourished within India and beyond. They traded with Mesopotamia, Iran, and Afghanistan, importing metals and stones and exporting grains, cotton goods, beads, pottery, and ivory crafts. Indus seals found in Mesopotamia tells us of this vibrant exchange. Without coins, they used barter, transporting goods using bullocks, carts on land, and boats across rivers and seas, linking them to distant lands and making the Harappan economy one of the most advanced of ancient world. In the lively world of Harappan people, daily life was rich and colorful. Men and women wore simple yet elegant clothes, usually two pieces of cloth, one for the upper body and one for the lower. Beads and jewelry were popular with both, and women adorned themselves with bangles, earrings, anklets, and rings made from gold, silver, copper, and semi precious stones. Cosmetics were commonly used, showing a love for personal care. Inside their homes, they used a variety of items made from pottery, stone, metal, shell, and ivory. Tools like spindles, combs, needles, and fish hooks, all made from copper, tell us about their daily chores and crafts. Children played with clay cards, marbles, and even dice, proof that games and fun were part of life. People fished and hunted, and even enjoyed bullfighting as a form of entertainment. For defense and perhaps war, they had weapons like axes, daggers, bows, and arrows, made from bronze and copper. Altogether, the Harappan social life blended style, skill, and play, a truly advanced and vibrant society for its time. In the heart of Harappan civilization, art flourished with incredible beauty and skill. Their sculptors were masters, shaping terracotta figures of people, animals, and birds, and engraving seals within intricate designs. One of the most famous pieces is the bronze dancing girl from Mohenjo-daro, confident and elegant, with her right hand on her hip and her left arm adorned with bangles hanging loosely from Harappa. Stone statues of a man's back and a dancer show the same grace and attention to detail. Their pottery was equally impressive. Jars and pots were often painted with beautiful patterns, circles, lines, leaves, and even animals like fish and peacocks. The painted pottery was of high quality, revealing the Harappans' deep love for art and design, woven into the fabric of their daily lives. The Harappan script remains one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world, found on seals, pottery, and tablets. It contains between 400 and 600 signs with about 40 to 60 core symbols and many variations. Most of the writing was done right to left, but some long inscriptions used the Bostrophodon style, alternating direction with each line, like an ox ploughing a field. Over the years, many scholars have tried to crack the code. Parpola and his Scandinavian team believed the Harappan language was Dravidian, a view supported by some Soviet scholars. Others think it may be linked to the Brahmi script. But to this day, the script remains undeciphered, holding its secrets tightly. When it's finally understood, it promises to unlock deeper truths about Harappan life, culture, and thought. The Harappans had a rich spiritual life, revealed through their seals, figurines, and tablets. Their main god was Pashupatti, a proto Shiva, shown sitting in a yogic posture with three faces, two horns, and surrounded by animals like the elephant, tiger, rhino, and buffalo, each facing a different direction. Two deer sit near his feet. The main goddess was the symbol, mother goddess, symbol of fertility, often seen in terracotta figurines. Over the time, Linga worshipped also appeared. They also worshipped trees and animals, believed in ghosts and evil spirits, and wore amulets for protection, showing a deep connection with nature and the unseen world. In the quiet cemeteries of Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Lothal, and other cities, the Harappans' burial tradition come to life. They practice both complete burials and post-cremation burials, carefully laying their loved ones to rest. At Lothal, some graves were lined with burnt bricks, showing the use of coffins, while at Harappa, actual wooden coffins have been found. Pot burials, sometimes with pairs of skeletons, also appeared at Lothal, perhaps symbolizing close bonds in life and death. Though their customs were varied and respectful, there is no evidence they practiced sati. Their burials tell a silent story of care, ritual, and remembrance. The fall of Harappan civilization remains one of history's great mysteries. Scholars have many theories, but no single answer. Some believe natural disasters played a role, flood, droughts, and earthquakes, and the drying of rivers may have slowly weakened their cities. Others point to over farming, which could have drained the soil's fertility. But there's also a darker theory, invasion. The Rig Veda speaks of the destruction of forts, and at Mohenjo-daro, skeletons found huddled together suggest a sudden attack. Some say the Aryans, with faster horses and stronger weapons, may have overpowered the Harappans. Whether by nature or war, the once great Harappan cities eventually fell silent, leaving behind only ruins and unanswered questions. Thank you for watching Curious Academy, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.